the last 2 to 3 months.
I want to talk about the economy with Art Laffer, but there's also this misconstrued. That is what Jeb Bush says about the comment on American work hours. Listen to this.
Which means we have to be a lot more productive. Workforce participation has to rise from its all-time modern lows. Means that people need to work longer hours and through their productivity gain more income for their families.
Joining the conversation right now is Art Laffer. He's Laffer Associates founder and chairman, former Reagan economic advisor. Art, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good to see you, Maria.
So
you guys are having altogether too much fun, by the way. I love watching this show.
I know, it's true, it's true. So the comment from Jeb Bush, people need to work longer hours. He basically was saying they need to work full time, not part-time. But when he said people need to work longer hours, the Dems jumped all over him, saying he was out of touch. What's your take?
It just tells me the Dems are out of touch. We are having one of the worst economies ever. People need to make it incentives to work longer hours, whether it be moving from part-time to full-time or being able to work longer full-time hours. There is nothing wrong with working, Maria, and the Dems think there's something really wrong with working. They should try doing it themselves someday. Well, it can pay off for them.
Yeah, no, I understand. But this whole idea about full-time versus part-time has become a real issue because of Obamacare.
It is a real issue.
A lot of CEOs are saying, look, if I am forced to offer more benefits and more money to more employees, I'm just not going to hire as many. I'll send those full-time jobs into part-time jobs. Isn't that what's happening, Art?
Well, that is what's happening, but it's also happening on the marginal tax rates and on regulations on the full-time workers as well. I mean, the additional hour you work, you pay your marginal tax rate, which is much, much higher now than it was 8 years ago or so. And, you know, all of these tend to push people back and work less hours. Shifting from part-time to full-time would be great. And working full-time more hours would be great if it were profitable for the worker. And that's all we're arguing, a low-rate, broad-based, flat tax, and Bush couldn't be more correct if he had to be. It's just spectacular what he's talking about. 4% growth and more incentives for people to work. That's just what we need in this country.
Here's Keith McCullough.
Hey, yeah, I totally agree on getting people to work harder and longer. I mean, if you drive on the merit right now in Connecticut, it's like driving on some side of Italy. You know, every long weekend lasts 2 weeks. I mean, the reality is that is a problem. But I think a bigger problem, and maybe if the Democrats actually had some economic wherewithal in the analysis, they would have jumped on Bush for, I think, and you address this, that he said, and I quote, a 4% growth as far as the eye can see. Now, you know, and I know that that's just a political point, that if you take, you know, today and try to superimpose the demographic spending boom that was the 1990s into a demographic secular problem, you're never going to see 4% as the eye can see. Why would he set himself up with a number like that is suspect? I could beat him up all day long on that number, and I'd love to see his reaction.
Well, I wish you would, and I wish that I could debate with you, because he's completely correct. Our participation rate, Kev, has gone from, it's 64.7% down to 59.3%. If we just move back to where the employment as a share of population went back to the 64.7, we would have 4% growth as far as the eye can see. I think Jeb Bush is exactly right talking about 4% long-term growth, and I think, if anything, he's being a little modest on it. We really need to get back to the Reagan-era types of growth rates, where on a quarterly basis we had Chinese growth rates in 63, 64. I mean, we really need to bop this economy back up to where it gets rid of the last 14 years of W and Obama.
I get what we need, but what you're going to get is called gravity. You cannot get time and age to change, Art. I mean, at the end of the day, Reagan and Bush, or really, I mean, Reagan specifically, Clinton also had a huge demographic tailwind with the biggest growth in the core spending cohort of a baby boom population in world history. I mean, now they're all getting older. That's why they're not participating. This is a secular problem.
So Keith is talking really about the demographic part of the problem, Art.
Well, I don't think the demographic problem makes much of a difference. I mean, here I am, 75 years old, and I'm having fun working, and it's great. But, I mean, come on, let's be serious. Medicine has changed the demographics that you're talking about. And when you look at the economics, the policy things, Bush is exactly correct. We need to grow at 4%, and there are policies that will assure us growing at 4% as far as the eye can see. I just hope he enunciates and lays out those policies correctly. A low-rate, broad-based flat tax, spending restraint, sound money, free trade and minimal regulations, then get the heck out of the way and let the market solve the problem, and we'll have more than 4% growth for as far as the eye can see.
It sounds like all good ideas are, but can you characterize where we are right now? We're at the kickoff to the second quarter earnings season. Earnings are expected to be down better than 4%, Art. We know we had a horrible first quarter, and the second quarter does not seem to have been that much better.
No, it doesn't.
It's all about the second half now.
Well, I know, but when you look at this economy, we haven't changed economic policies, Maria.
Right.
And unfortunately, the economy responds to economic policies. And why anyone would expect a good economy this year is beyond me. They just don't know economics if they expected a good year this year. When we change policies, that's when you're going to get a good economy. Economies respond to policies, and the policies haven't changed, and the economy won't. And it's the worst recovery ever.
And then there's the regulatory environment that's squeezing it even more because companies are just facing higher costs, and again, unwilling to hire new people.
But have you guys connected the dots with your stories earlier about Tom Selleck, who plays Police Commissioner Reagan? And then you look at the stock market, which is where all the entrepreneurs meet. You look at the Wall Street Journal, the Bible for capitalism. I mean, when you look at it, I think I'm going to paraphrase Hillary. This is a grand left-wing conspiracy against free markets. I mean, you guys are great, by the way. Thank you for having me on.
Art, what did you think of Hillary's first interview?
I thought it was really terrible. I mean, she will change, by the way, but I mean, why would she? Donald Trump makes remarks that are Donald Trump's remarks, but she blames everyone else, which is so untrue. Immigration is a complicated issue, and sometime maybe we'll have a good discussion on it in the show. But it's a complicated issue, and it cannot be hit with one phrase. And it's just amazing.
I think you just did Jeb Bush a service. They're going to come after you instead today, man.
Oh, no, but...
It's Tom Selleck's calling right now for you, Art. I don't know.
Art, thank you. You're
I'm
terrific.
Retire.
Appreciate it very much, Art. We'll see you soon. Art
pleasure.
Laffer joining us. Don't miss the entire